Hi, this is James Gordon here with a book review. Today's book I'm reviewing today, Duel, Terror Stories by Richard Matheson. This is from Tor, and was published in 2003. This was a decent read. I read this collection a very long time ago after I saw the movie of the same name, and I really enjoyed the movie Duel with Dennis Weaver, a really good early 70s horror movie. Uh, well, I got this collection either as a birthday or Christmas gift. I can't remember which, but I remember enjoying it at the time, and Richard Matheson would become one of my inspirations to become a writer. However, after reading this collection again, some of the stories did not age well, and others were just not good as I remembered them, as I thought they used to be. There were, out of all the stories, there were only four I liked the best. The rest were either okay, or not well executed, and there was a couple stinkers in here too. Along with two stories that were just really dark, shocking, and bleak, and I really didn't enjoy those two stories, which and some others that I felt were very comedic, which really doesn't fit the mood of this book, which I'll explain more in my review. But overall, this was a decent read. Decent read. Like, it wasn't all bad. Like, some of the other stories, I felt were good. Like Richard Mason had a really good idea, but wasn't well fleshed out or executed well, and sometimes they had weak endings. And there were some other problems I had with this collection, which I'll explain more in my review. All right, on to the book review and spoiler, as I will be giving away crucial details within the story. Duel. David Mann is driving on the highway through the Mojave Desert on his way to a business meeting in San Francisco. A everyday man who just wants to show up on time for work, make good deals while keeping his wife and children happy. While driving by, he glances at the scenery, enjoying the beauty of the open desert and its landscape, but is amazed to see people living out here in trailer parks. However, he encounters an old semi-truck hauling a tanker trailer with the words flammable in red. Also written on the driver's side door is the word Keller, which David mistakes at first as killer. David passes the truck several times as it overpasses him and slowing down. Getting annoyed and not wanting to be late, David tries to pass the semi-truck again, but now it's blocking his way. Getting angry as he honks his horn a few times and attempts to pass him, but the truck driver refuses. Then, the truck driver waves his arm out the window, thinking he's finally going to allow David to pass. However, just as he goes to pass, David nearly collides head-on into an oncoming car and almost loses control. Cursing at the driver, David's had enough and is able to squeeze past the semi-truck and floors it for a while, believing he's left that jerk behind. But as he gets comfortable, he hears the roaring engine of the semi-truck glance up in his rearview mirror. It's gaining on him. David tries outrunning the truck, but his car isn't powerful enough as the truck begins bumping into him, causing his car to jerk around. Up ahead, he sees Chuck's Cafe. David slows down and quickly pulls over into the gravel parking lot and crashes into a wooden fence as the semi-truck speeds by. David walks over to the cafe, washes his face with cold water while trying to calm himself down and goes to leave, but stops in horror to see the semi-truck parked out front in the cafe. At first, Dave believes one of the men inside is the driver. He orders himself some lunch while trying to think how to handle the situation, wondering if he should confront the driver or just get back in his car. However, as each man gets up, pays for their lunch or beer, then leaves, he realizes the truck driver isn't in the cafe. He's waiting outside for him. He tries to run to the semi-truck, but it speeds away. David gets back in his car and tries getting back on track. However, waiting a few miles ahead of him is the truck driver. He pulls over, wondering if he should go a different way, but knows it will only follow him. David decides there's no other way out. He floors it with the truck driver getting after him. But to make matters worse, his route is blocked by closed road signs. David makes a hard turn, crashing into one as he drives towards a canyon. Just as David is gaining more speed, suddenly a trail of white smoke begins coming out of the hood of his engine as he's losing speed. His radiator hose breaks, knowing he should have replaced it when he had the chance. Barely making it to the summit, David shifts the gear into neutral and coasts down the hill while the truck is forced to slow down. While coasting, David tries starting up his car, but the engine has stalled. Reaching the bottom as he turns and crashes into a rock wall, David is able to start up his car with the truck chasing after him. Reaching the top of the canyon, David drives head-on into the truck and jumps out at the last second. The semi-truck crashes into his car and pushes it off the cliff and falls over, crashing into the ground below and explodes. Third from the sun. A couple awakens at 5 in the morning in their bedroom. The husband and wife discuss their final plans of escaping their doomed planet, taking their children along with their neighbors so their children will have a future on a new safe world. They begin packing up while eating breakfast, but both the husbands and wives warn their kids they must not tell anyone their plans. After leaving their house, both couples drive towards a military base where the husband works as a test pilot. The sleepy guard allows the husband inside, thinking it's a late test flight. Once they reach the ship, both families get on board and leave their home world behind them, knowing the fate of the others. The wife tells the children what's going to happen to their planet. Meanwhile, both the husbands are at the controls as they're heading for the planet next to the moon, third from the sun, which is Earth. Shapeshift home. Two couples, Ruth and her writer husband Rick, along with their friends Phil and Marge, have moved into the apartment building together. While the rent is low and the area isn't safe at night with gangs roaming around, while Rick believes the place isn't all that bad, however, his wife Ruth doesn't like the janitor, stating the way he looks at her along with his creepy smile. At first, Rick brushes it off as his wife is being paranoid for nothing. However, while having dinner with Phil and Marge, she too doesn't like the janitor, stating he gives her the creeps. Then Ruth tells Rick that she secretly snuck into the basement and claims there's large engines and it doesn't look like they're from here, and when she passed by the janitor again, she knows he has a third eye in the back of his head. Rick believes Ruth is reading too much science fiction, but she convinces him to go check it out for himself. However, upon trying to reach the secret room, they are unable to and are greeted by the janitor, but as they walk past him, Rick gets a bad vibes from his creepy grin and begins to question if his wife is really telling the truth. It isn't long till both Marge and Phil believe something isn't right with their apartment or the janitor, so they plan to wait till midnight and follow him into the basement. They all agree on the plan, and during that night they follow the janitor into the secret room, and once inside they discover the large engines are in fact rockets, and the janitor is an alien. Suddenly the engines activate as both couples barely escape the spaceship in time before it blasts off into outer space. However, a officer that Rick has been talking to lately, Johnson, comes over to them, but to his horror, Johnson isn't human either, as they notice the eye in the back of his head. Then more apartments begin blasting off, revealing their spaceships taking humans away as more three-eyed aliens begin appearing around them. Steel, set in the future of 1997, robots have taken the place of humans in boxing matches. An ex-boxer, Kelly Steele, and his partner Poe are facing problems as their old boxing robot model B2 heavyweight known as Maxo has broken his left arm sprain, and finding a replacement is difficult as it would be cheaper to replace the left arm. However, they are tight on cash and there isn't any spare parts in Kruger Stadium. If they don't enter in this fight, they won't get the money to repair their robot. With no choice, Kelly disguises himself as Maxo despite Poe's warnings that he'll get himself killed, but refuses to listen. Kelly faces against Maryland Flash. Kelly does his best to block the powerful blows of the robot boxer, but his body is taking a beating from the heavy blows. Using all his strength and skills as an ex-boxer, Kelly is able to defeat Maryland Flash, but is nearly killed. However, to his disappointment, he only receives half the pay for a poor fight. Kelly limps with Poe as they plan to take a bus, get the parts they'll need, and get Max back into the ring while recovering from his injuries. Duel Stories of Terror was a decent collection of short stories. While Duel was the best one, with the other three I picked were alright, but felt the rest could have been a lot better as there were several I really didn't like. From decent to bad dialogue and writing structure could be hit or miss at times. For example, when The Waker Sleeps felt like it was a choose-your-own-adventure type story with poorly written plot, characters, and bad writing structure. Other stories such as F felt more comedic than serious as it doesn't mix well with the rest of the stories. Other stories like Being SLR Ad, Trespass Death Ship could have been better executed, but Matheson either doesn't flesh out the plot better, adds more to the story, or weak endings. I also noticed Matheson recycles a lot of names he used in other stories and wish he picked different names than using the same character names over and over again. And there were some stories that were dark and bleak which I didn't like at all. Born of Man and Woman Till the Last Day were both shocking and uneasy to read at times. The rest of the stories I either didn't like or care for them. Overall, Duel Stories of Terror is a decent collection of short stories by Rich Matheson. However, I felt the collection of I Am Legend had better stories than this one. It's still worth a read as others might enjoy more than I did. And that's a review today. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, this was a decent read. As I said, Duel was the best story out of this collection. And as for the movie of the same, it's a really good movie, and it's really interesting to see how well Steven Spielberg did for his very first film. And It does a really good job with the movie. Picked a really good actor, Dennis Weaver, to play the main character while being terrorized by this killer semi truck driver, being chased across the desert. There were some things with the movie I didn't like. I felt the one part where Dennis Weaver is asked to push a bus, I felt was unbelievable. Like, come on, like a average four-door sedan is gonna be able to push a bus. Like, come on, it's just not possible. That scene was not in the book, in the story that was added in the film. There was another scene. It was, I guess, okay. It's a part where Dennis Weaver sees this older couple passing by, and he tries to hitch a ride for them, and they refuse because they don't want any trouble, and then the truck driver kind of comes in and scares them away. Like, that scene was okay. The one scene I did like in the movie is when the truck driver tries pushing Dennis Weaver's car into a train. That part I liked, and of course the part where Desiree tries calling the cops on the truck driver, and when the truck driver realizes what's going on, he basically tries to kill him while he's in a phone booth. So overall, the movie is really good too. So I highly recommend, if you haven't checked the movie, to check it out. But as for the collection, like I said, Duel is probably the best story I liked I liked from this collection. The other stories I like, the other one I liked, from the Sun. That's kind of an interest. That was an interesting story, basically about that one is revealed that aliens are basically escaping their doomed planet, and they're going to Earth, which is free from the sun. I saw the Twilight episode of the same name. It was okay, but I kind of liked in the story how Richard Matheson doesn't reveal that they're not human. Like, that's the one thing I liked about this story. Like, he does his best to make sure that these characters are not human. He does a really good job of keeping a secret until he reveals at the end they're going further to the sun, but revealing that they're aliens. The TV show, that of course they made the aliens humans. Richard Matheson doesn't describe what these characters look like. That's kind of like the whole point of the story. So it was okay. Um, the other story, like, let's see, Shapeship Home. That one I thought was really interesting. Basically, a couple living in an apartment, and then they make a shocking discovery that the apartment is actually a spaceship, and basically the janitor is an alien who basically is capturing people and is sending them back to who knows where. And then basically the planet's got these like three-eyed aliens, and I like the shocking ending. I really enjoyed that, and um, Steel, that was another interesting one. Basically, you got like in the future where it's like robots are now like fighting each other, kind of like rock and soccer robots almost. And the one character has to enter a ring because his robot's damaged, and he has to try to survive this fight, which he barely comes out alive at the end of this fight, as this robot nearly kills him. Um, I know that was made into a movie, but they altered the plot so much. They changed the whole thing to where basically it is that where the film Real Steel feels more like Rock and Soccer Robots, the movie essentially. So those are the stories I like best. Now, the stories I really did not like were When the Waker Sleeps. To me, felt like it was like Choose Your Own Adventure, like the way Richard Matheson wrote the story. Like, there's a part in it where you aimed your ray gun at the enemy, and when you pulled the trigger, nothing happened. You gasped. You realize you're out of ammo. It's like, why are you writing like this? Why are you writing like this? I just didn't like the way he wrote like that. Let's see. Return was another story I felt that could have been better. Basically, that one's about a university professor. Basically, is doing an experiment where he goes like several years ahead in time, and then comes back to report his findings back to another scientist. And when he gets to this future, he basically is like captured, and basically is kind of like arrested, as he's in the future where time travel is illegal and stuff. And the person who's captured refuses to let him go back home, and tries to make his life easy as possible by giving him like, instead of like a robotic wife, like a hologram or something. And so the main character basically escapes. He goes back in time only to find that something is altered in the past. So I felt that one could have been better. Um, SR ad I felt was an interesting idea. Basically, you got this like girl that's looking for some guy to hook up with in like a magazine or newspaper ad, and it basically turns out it's like an alien woman that's trying to abduct men. Essentially, I felt this was an interesting idea, but the way Matheson wrote it, where it's like you're reading like the letters, I didn't like that. I felt it would have been better if he just wrote it as a story of like a character wants to meet this woman, and the end reveals it's an alien and abducts him. That would have been better. Um, Death Ship, that was another one. I liked the beginning part of the story where basically this crew, they're looking for a planet to live on, and then one of them spots like a ship marooned on the planet, so they go to check it out. However, when they get there, they can't help notice what how similar the ship looks to theirs. And when they get on board, they find three dead crew members. They find three dead crew members, which is essentially them, and they're trying to make sense of it. So they decide, let's get the hell out of here. But then the captain gets in his head, oh no, we're supposed to crash deliberately, so he like crashes the ship, saying, oh, when we get back to the planet, that ship will be gone. It's still there. And I thought, what the hell? It was just not a really good ending. Um, Lost Little Girl kind of reminded me of Poltergeist, where basically this daughter basically like gets teleported through the couch of all things, and it's like lost in a portal, and the father has to try to get the daughter back. It was kind of a it's just not really a good story if you ask me. Trespass I felt could have been another interesting one where basically this husband returns back from like a business trip of some kind, and his wife reveals that she's pregnant, but she states repeatedly throughout the book that she was not cheating on him with another man, but she refuses to explain how she got knocked up in the first place, and this causes a strain in the relationship. And then the husband makes a discovery that basically a Martian came to his house and basically had sex with his wife because late at night she starts singing these songs, and it's revealed it's an alien. And I thought this is really silly, and the ending I didn't like either. Um, one of my big disappointments from a story that I actually really liked when I first read this collection. However, reading again, it was not all that good. That's a story where basically some couple, they're going to New York for vacation. They're leaving Los Angeles, and they can't afford to fly there, so they're driving there, and it's like they're in a desert. It's really hot, and they get to this abandoned gas station, and the girlfriend is complaining like wants like something cold to drink. So then this guy shows up and unlocks the gas pump so they can use it, and they're asking this guy, "Do you have any water?" And this guy's like really like dirty and filthy looking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got water back in my place." So they decide to drive all the way to his house to get water, and then the guy says, "Oh, I got a zoo in the back you want to check out." Despite despite the pleas from the boyfriend, who doesn't like zoos because he doesn't like the idea of animals being locked up, the girlfriend persists on seeing what animals he's got in his backyard, and it's revealed like they're basically people he's kidnapped and put in cages and stuff. And then when they go to get out of there, he forces them at gunpoint to go into the cage themselves, and the story kind of goes into the guy's mind. He's got all these guns and bombs, and he's really crazy, and the couple tries to escape. Their first attempt is not successful, and then later on in the story, the guy thinks that the guy's girlfriend is actually his deceased wife. This story I felt could have been so much better, but it felt tamed. I felt Richard Matheson was like holding back on it, and I felt this could have been so much better. And the first time I read Bean, it kind of reminded me of The Hills Have Eyes, but after reading it again, I did not enjoy it that much. There's some other stories I really did not like in here, like Born of Man and Woman and The Last Day. I felt were very bleak and dark, and just kind of uneasy to read at times. Then, as I said, some of the other stories like F and When the Waker Sleeps kind of felt very comedic, and I felt the comedy really didn't work that well with this collection. I'm glad that Rich Madison stayed away from comedy after that. The rest of the stories were either okay or just not really that good, so this is a decent collection worth checking out. But as I said before, I felt that the Iron Legend, there's like editions of Iron Legend that have like other stories, which I felt those were a lot better. But Duel is definitely worth a read because it's got one of the best stories that Rich Madison wrote in the 70s. Alright, that's it for the book review today. Hope you enjoyed it. And for my next two books, yes, I'm doing two books as part of a series. Destiny's Edge and The Enemy Within. These are part of a two-book series of as I've been wanting to do some more furry themed books, and I got a trip coming up, so I'm going to try to read both these books within a short period of time. So I'm going to start reading the first book right away, and then get a review up soon, and then get onto the second one. As I got a trip coming up, so I want to get these two books read in time before my upcoming trip, so I have some reviews before I go. As I said, I want to get some more furry fiction on the channel, and if I have time, I might squeeze in one more book review before I go. I just have to see how much time I have left. Alright, If you enjoyed this video, please like it, and please don't forget to subscribe to Octara Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group of the same name. Please support your review of fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.